and like picking up on those red flags. But the important thing to know is the context behind them. So even that checking in at 12 o'clock, is he doing that because she is untrusting and she believes that a real relationship looks like you're home at a certain time of night,
Right.
every night? Or is it coming from a place of anxiety? Does she have a natural anxiety that something bad is going to happen, and so you are proactively doing these things to kind of keep her reassured? So
Right.
that's why we need that extra time to gather the context behind those behaviors.
Viz, when you were saying she understand when I do take the lead, I don't know. Can you like reword that?
I'm saying if with how we was talking about earlier with knowing to turn that shit off when you walk in the door. You know what I'm saying? Once you get home. So when she get to the house, or when I come home, she understands that this isn't the business. You're not the same person that you were at work. You know what I'm saying? This
Because
is a completely
I
different.
think I get what you're saying now. At first,
Yeah.
it sounded like you were saying like there is no default person. So whenever you decide to become that person, she'll understand it. That's a dangerous game to play. If that was what you were saying, but you clarified it, and that's not your point.
All right, y'all, we gotta start transitioning. I just want to go ahead and bring this up as well, because since we talk about femininity and soft women being feminine, it just seems to be in this era. There are some times now that women do have a representative in the beginning of the relationship, and it's because of what they've been consuming and thinking that this is what men want. But often, and Nelson, you may be able to touch on this, when it comes a moment that they don't like, then that's when you see it comes out. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that, Nelson, and then we'll go ahead and transition?
Yeah, it's wearing a mask, and men do that to a certain extent too. You put on this version of yourself that is, a lot of times, it is agreeable. It is very much liking that, the guy that tells you to just sit back and be quiet, and we'll see when we get there kind of stuff is cute at first, but after about 3 months, you start to see who they naturally are. So that's when you start to see the small complaints. This is when you see a lot of the complaints about why'd you do it like this and not that. You start to see the different fits and things like that. It's we jump into relationships way too quick without understanding who a person really is, and that's because a lot of times because we don't have the correct kind of conversations to know if this then that. If I say this or if I do this, you will naturally react like that. And until we stop acting like, and because men do the same exact thing, we will call and check in 3 times a day. We'll send those text messages just thinking about you. We do a lot of things that aren't going to be sustainable for the long-term part of the relationship. So once those things start falling off and we start being our natural selves, they pick up on us being a fraud. I mean, and that's when they start challenging you, testing the boundaries, things like that, because their natural self is coming out. And that's when the divorce happens, is when two people finally become their natural self and realize that they came in to the relationship both as frauds.
Man, it's such a great conversation, man. I just got to ask a couple more questions, maybe just one more question, Nelson. So, is there any people that show up that's actually themselves, or do you think, for the most part, based off your experience, that everyone has a representative?
I think everybody has a representative. I think it's
Not Trev is real from the beginning.
I think it's a natural thing, because everybody wants to put their best foot forward, but the problem is when people put their best foot forward and their natural self doesn't look anything like what that best foot forward looks like. So I think it's, so to a certain extent, it's also okay to come in and put your best foot forward in certain ways in terms of being the type of person that you are striving to be. So once you've been in a relationship for a bit, and I always say it takes 3 months to really get to know somebody. Once you get past that 3-month mark and now you're seeing what that person scaled back looks like, that gives, and you know that that's something that you can deal with, that's something that works for you, then you can work in a relationship based on optimism. Like you're content in the state that you're in with them, but you also see their ambition and see what the most efficient them looks like in the future as well. So it's all about, it really is all about taking that time to not focus on the physical characteristics, the fake ways that people are trying to be helpful in relationships. After the 3 months mark, when you start being your normal self, then start evaluating the relationship.
Okay. All right. So if everyone gets in relationships knowing that there's a representative, then if they come in with that understanding, is it easier for them to say, okay, we got to start working on some things, or it's easier for them to stay together if they come with that understanding?
I mean, but if they come with that understanding and they both see a bunch of things that each other needs to work on, then should you really be together in the first place? There's no point in buying a fixer upper. Like,
but everybody, okay, I see what you're saying. If they know who they are on the front end, but if everybody's showing up their representative, I like the part where you said that you have to just kind of reevaluate. I think maybe have a conversation after 3 months and say how you think the relationship is going. These are the things that I like, these things I don't like, and then see if it improves then. If it's not too over the edge, because some things can just be like unacceptable and not can understand that behavior, but anything that's reasonable, because I don't think anybody's picture perfect.
I definitely say
there's a red flag. If there's
I definitely say
you want to see that way before the 3 months. If you're spending time with a person within 3 months, you're gonna encounter some type of experiences that's going to show what how it is that they handle those moments. And if as a man, if you're doing your due diligence of paying attention to your surroundings, then you should almost already be able to tell that, okay, she overreacts in these situations. Like with Marcus, he was talking about the chick that wants him to call her at midnight or be back at the hotel. And somebody like that, then he saw that before, what I'm saying, the 3 months. She at some point showed that this was the type of woman that she is before the 3 months.
Yeah, but that pussy good, Viz. That pussy good. He may have to.
That's fair. That's fair. But you know what I'm saying? At some point, we're grown men now. When we was younger, you 20, early 20s, something like that, then okay, you maybe could let that pass. But now as grown men, you know what I'm saying, we only got so many more summers, you know what I'm saying, in this motherfucker. So we gotta make it count.
That 3 months is really important, because I like what you said about them knowing, like seeing behaviors immediately and like picking up on those red flags. But the important thing to know is the context behind them. So even that checking in at 12 o'clock, is he doing that because she is untrusting and she believes that a real relationship looks like you're home at a certain time of night,
Right.
every night? Or is it coming from a place of anxiety? Does she have a natural anxiety that something bad is going to happen, and so you are proactively doing these things to kind of keep her reassured? So
Right.
that's why we need that extra time to gather the context behind those behaviors.